You don't get a nickname like the Monster handed to you. It's not a marketing tool. It's not an exaggeration. It's something earned in blood and proven under the lights. In the world of boxing, where tough talk and false hype often take the place of true greatness, Naoya Inoue has made one thing brutally clear. He lives up to every bit of the terror his name implies. From his earliest moments in the ring, Inoue has carved out a path not just of victories, but of annihilations. But there was one moment, one night, one victim, that marked the arrival of something more than a talent. It was the birth of a force. That moment came when he stepped through the ropes to face the seasoned Filipino warrior Jen Manio for the OPBF light flyweight title. What unfolded wasn't merely a win. It was a brutal thesis statement. Manio, with a granite chin and a fire forged from years of hard fights, was no amateur. He had been in the ring with killers. He had taken shots and given them back. He came to the ring ready to test this young upstart, this 20-year-old Japanese prospect people were whispering about. But from the opening bell, the dynamic was unmistakable. Inoue didn't come to test the waters. He came to drown his opponent. Even with less than a dozen professional rounds under his belt, the young fighter exuded calm, a poise that belied his age. Manio came forward with aggression, but Inoue was already computing, reading, and adapting. And once the data was collected, he began to strike with ruthless efficiency. The first round saw Manio try to impose himself, attempting to bully the younger man with forward pressure and high volume. But Inoue wasn't playing defense. He was laying traps. With every counter, with every timed body shot, he slowly rewrote Manio's rhythm. What began as an even exchange quickly tilted into domination. The second round was the unraveling. Inoue started digging at the body with vicious intent, and every punch seemed to take a chunk out of Manio's stamina. These weren't wild haymakers. They were precise, surgical, emotionally detached shots designed to break a man's foundation. Manio, proud and relentless, kept coming, but each step forward was a decision he'd come to regret. As the fight continued, Inoue's toolbox opened wider. He moved effortlessly between styles, countering off the back foot, leading with combinations, switching stances, and varying angles. He was showing mastery, not just potential. Manio tried everything. He circled, he lunged, and he fired flurries. But nothing slowed Inoue's advance. The punishment wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The realization that your best isn't enough, that your grit won't save you, breaks even the strongest fighters. By round 5, the beating had grown so systematic that the referee mercifully stepped in. No knockdowns were needed. No 10 count. Just the look in Manio's eyes, the slump in his shoulders, and the merciless continuation of Inoue's assault told the whole story. A regional belt had been claimed, but more importantly, a monster had been unleashed. What followed was a steady rise through the ranks, each fight another chapter in a horror story for his opponents. But if the Manio fight introduced Inoue to the hardcore fans, his U.S. debut was a coming-out party for the global audience. The stage was set when he squared off against Antonio Nieves, a confident and capable fighter boasting a 17-1 record. Nieves wasn't a journeyman. He had credentials, experience, and a solid camp behind him. He believed he was ready. But belief means nothing when it collides with a truth as cold and unforgiving as Naoya Inoue's fists. From the first round, the tone was different. This wasn't a firefight, it was a dismantling in progress. Inoue didn't rush. He probed with a jab, moved with precision, and let Nieves show his hand. The crowd could feel it, the tension in the air when Inoue closed the distance, the sharp intake of breath every time he launched an attack. He didn't waste energy. He didn't throw with desperation. He picked his moments and landed with cruel clarity. Nieves tried to use his jab to find distance, to get comfortable, but Inoue's movement and timing erased every adjustment. By the second round, it was clear that Nieves was not in a boxing match. He was in a chess game against a grandmaster who played with knives. Inoue's left hook to the body became a recurring nightmare. Each time it landed, Nieves visibly flinched. They say the liver shot is the great equalizer, the punch that short-circuits the body regardless of a man's will. Inoue knew this, and he wielded it like a scalpel. Round by round, Nieves began to fade. The aggression of the opening minute turned to survival mode. His punches lacked snap, his steps became cautious, and his eyes, those windows of every fighter's soul, betrayed doubt. Round 4 saw the shift in Inoue. The confidence, already brimming, began to spill over. He started to smile between exchanges. His hands dropped, and his angles grew wider. He was no longer merely dissecting Nieves. He was toying with him. The difference in skill, speed, and power had created a chasm too wide for Nieves to leap. Even when he managed to land, it had no consequence. Inoue didn't blink. He kept marching forward, slipping shots, and countering with ferocity. And the worst part for Nieves? He knew Inoue hadn't even gone into his final gear by the sixth round. The performance became more performance art than sport. Inoue's timing had grown so exact that he could land punches with eerie ease. He started throwing punches that Nieves couldn't see, let alone defend. The crowd rose to their feet, sensing the end. But it didn't come with a dramatic knockdown. Instead, it arrived with quiet mercy. Nieves' corner, watching their fighter absorb damage without answers, threw in the towel. They had seen enough. And so had the world. The monster wasn't a myth. He was real. And he had arrived on the global stage without needing to shout, flex, or brag. He let his fists do the talking, and the boxing world couldn't stop listening. But even after dismantling Nieves in such dominant fashion, Inoue's thirst remained. He wasn't interested in safe fights or easy defenses. He wanted champions. He wanted legacies. And so, after unifying divisions and terrorizing opponents in Asia and the US, he found himself across the ring from Paul Butler, a fighter with experience, a championship pedigree, and a British fanbase that believed he could rise to the occasion. Butler had seen world-class talent before. He had grit, heart, and enough veteran savvy to know what he was stepping into. But he didn't expect what happened next. From the moment the bell rang, it was clear that this was not a fair fight. Butler came out cautious, his game plan centered on defense and survival. He circled, he shelled up, he looked for openings, but found none. Inoue took the center of the ring and began to stalk. Not recklessly, but deliberately. Every movement, every step, was designed to cut off space. And with each second, the air in the arena grew heavier. You could sense it. This was a predator sizing up his prey. Butler had options, but none of them involved offense. He couldn't trade. He couldn't press. So he waited. And Inoue made him pay for every second he stood still. Round after round, Butler's offense disappeared. His hands were glued to his temples, his feet constantly in reverse. He wasn't in a fight. He was in a hostage situation. Inoue's punches were sharp and untelegraphed. He landed jabs to the face, hooks to the body, and straight rights down the pipe, all with the poise of a surgeon and the malice of a killer. Butler tried to counter once or twice, but the returns were disastrous. His shots missed, Inoue's didn't. His defense absorbed blows, but his offense evaporated. And worst of all, his spirit slowly began to drain. By the middle rounds, Butler had stopped pretending to win. He was now focused solely on surviving. But even that was becoming impossible. Inoue's footwork had trapped him in corners more times than he could count. And each time, the Japanese juggernaut unleashed a barrage of punches designed to end things right there. The crowd, which had started hopeful, grew silent. They weren't watching a contest. They were witnessing a public execution. And through it all, Inoue remained calm, almost bored. This wasn't a challenge. It was target practice. As the fight wore on, Inoue's intensity didn't fade, it sharpened. In rounds 8 and 9, he began to experiment. Lead hooks without setups. Punches from odd angles. Even pauses between combinations, daring Butler to throw something, anything. But there was no reply. Butler had been reduced to a shell, and no amount of corner instruction could restore what had already been broken. Still, he endured. He took the punishment. He refused to quit. That kind of bravery deserves respect. But bravery alone can't stop a storm. Round 11 was when it finally ended. Not with a brutal highlight reel knockout, but with a final combination that simply overwhelmed Butler's already battered frame. A shot to the body, delivered with speed and torque, sent him crashing to the canvas. There was no getting up. Not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't. His body had reached its limit. The referee waved it off. Another name on Inoue's list. Another fight that didn't just end, it concluded with punctuation. A statement. A warning, oh here we are, watching the rise of a fighter who might just be perfect. He's conquered divisions, ruined champions, and made brilliant fighters look lost. His power is undeniable. His precision is frightening. His ring IQ borders on supernatural. And worst of all for his opponents, he's still getting better. Every time someone thinks they've seen his ceiling, he kicks it higher. There's no playbook, no cheat code, no blueprint, just pain. The question now isn't whether Inoue is great. The question is, who, if anyone, can survive him? Because the monster isn't slowing down. He's just getting started.